We're live now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello. Sorry.
Welcome to all of you today. To all of our viewers, this week we have with us Ms. Parmita Sarma and Ms. Shilpa Pathak, both of whom are very senior overseas counselors here at iDream Career. So very warm welcome to both of you, ma'am. And the topic of discussion for today's talk is study abroad, Australia and New Zealand. This is mainly for those students who are planning to study abroad and couldn't apply to UK or US universities this year well in time. Well, universities in Australia and New Zealand are still open for admission, and today's discussion will broadly revolve around this. Also, I'd like to request all our viewers who have joined and who will be joining us pretty soon to please post your queries, doubts, or any questions that you may have in the live chat section. Both the speakers will definitely take it up at the end. So over to you, ma'am.
Hi. Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to be back. We've been having a lot of sessions on overseas education, and I think it has drawn a lot of students and requests and questions from students. So this time, as Samartha said, we are doing a presentation on overseas education in Australia and New Zealand. Now, it would be fair to say that yes, those students who are honestly thinking of going abroad and have missed certain deadlines for US and Canada, or and still want to go abroad, and and therefore these dates are still available because the timeline for these countries are different. Okay, so Parmita will go through the presentation and show you what the timelines are like. But I would like to also say that this should not be the only reason why you are applying to Australia and New Zealand, just because it is available. It should be because you are looking for those countries. When you're looking at overseas education, you have to make sure that you're looking at, not only what is available, but also where you actually want to go. What is the place that suits you? Why are you looking at Australia and New Zealand? Just because it is available now? That should not be the reason. Okay. So yes, this is something you can definitely do. But so I would like to tell students who are looking for overseas that look at overseas in a holistic way, looking at the courses, the universities, what are the rules there for students wanting to stay back and work there, so all of these things you take into consideration before you're looking at a country of overseas education. So we will go into the whole process and tell you how to go about it, when to do what are the visa rules, everything that is needed for you to apply to the universities in Australia and New Zealand. So I'd like to hand it over to Parmita to carry on with the presentation and take us through this. And as Samartha said, if you have questions, please do put them in the chat box so that we can, answer them and, get back to you that way. Over to you, Parmita.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I'm sure since I'll be taking on through the presentation, if there is any questions, put it in the YouTube chat. Samarth will be able to put it in the, we are in the Zoom meeting now. And ma'am would be answering. We have Bushra with us today. She is also equally experienced in the overseas, education and guidance part of it. So she would be helping and, helping out with your questions. Ma'am rightly told you that, when you are looking for an overseas education, you'll have to look at it in a holistic manner. You'll have to see that, that all your, pieces are in place to get the entire overseas experience, a beautiful experience, I would say. But nevertheless, there might be a lot of students, especially this weekly career class is for those students who are going to appear for their 12th boards now. 27th, some of you would be having your entrepreneurship exams, 27th of April. So in case you are, a 12th appearing students, and you are now looking at, maybe you thought of doing an overseas application little late. It's late for UK. It is not possible for US. Though one or two universities in Canada is still doable. Since we have a different time zone in Australia and New Zealand being in the southern hemisphere, and also the main intakes are the February intake, right? February, March intake of 23. So for all my students who are doing, are appearing for their 12th class boards this April, May, and some of the exams are going to get over in June. So nothing to worry. You actually can look at these universities and have the same experience of the entire process without having to worry too much about your finally appearing for your JEE and all. Some of you would be looking forward to doing your NEET. Even medical studies, dentistry of Australia. We do not have a lot of universities in Australia, like we have in US or we have in UK. But the ones that are there, some of them are really good, and they do have the kind of education our Indian student or an international student would like to experience. So with that, I'll take you to the PPT. We will discuss various points as to how you should go about it. I'll focus more on the timeline part of it. When we go through the presentation, you would actually realize why are we not very late for applying to these two countries. Okay, Australia as a country, it's beautiful, very welcoming. Weather conditions are, you'll be having all the, 4 seasons, I would say. So that way, it is a nice country. Even the demographic, if you look at, it's a good country to study and be in, right? We have this thesis here. I'll take it a little bit with the timeline and how you should go about it. So for all those students who are 12th appearing, and they are now also looking for, that maybe you have missed, applying to your, US applications or UK applications. Why we are saying that? Why are we bringing Australia along and comparing it with US and UK is because of the language requirement. So these countries are English speaking countries, and most of the Indian students who do not like countries which are predominantly English speaking, right? And where most of the education is imparted in the English language, right? So in this, US, UK, and Australia comes next. So Australia, during our academic year, it becomes a little tough for student because the Australian classes start somewhere in February and March. All right, that is the primary intake. Which is, sometimes it causes a little bit of problem if the students are doing your 12th exam. And for even the college students who are looking for a master's program, you would be preparing, or you would, be doing your final semesters, right? So that's the reason during that time it becomes a little difficult. But now, as you are almost at the end of your academic year in India, you would have good number of time available with you to do your research or to find what are your options in these two countries. So when we talk about, to be very clear as to what is the course that you're really looking to take up, what kind of a program, and where do you see yourself once you do that program. So you will have to get a course mapping done. If you haven't done it as of now, if you don't know whether you have a plan A and a plan B, please reach out to the IDC counselors, get a course mapping done. If not, what we do in our overseas or study abroad guidance program, we do your best fit course. Along with your best fit course, we would also like to map you with the universities which would have programs which you are looking to take up, right? There may be some universities where you might need a prerequisite. So this is an ideal time for you, especially the month of June, July, August, where you can actually bridge the gap and take the extra courses, or the extra credit that you need to earn, or maybe do a online program. Plus you can also do a good amount of research on the universities which you can shortlist yourself, or we will be able to help you shortlist, right? So you can look into the program, you can look into the faculties that are there, and also you can look into the research options that you get. What is a research fund? So this would help you find and understand better about the program. And also the next step, which is very important, plan your finances accordingly. Australian dollar is around 56.4 Indian rupee, right? There are a lot of universities in Australia which has university scholarships. So you might have to look at the university scholarships that they have. So you can actually do a research on that part also. Depending on your finances, you can choose between colleges. In most colleges, the undergrad program tends to be slightly expensive than the master program. All said and done, the average cost would be somewhere between 15,000 US dollars to 35,000 US dollars per year. Mind you, the Australian dollars per year. One very good thing about Australia is the cost of medical studies in Australia tends to be slightly lower than the studies for hotel management or normal management, even engineering. So even engineering program Australian dollars per year. A medical program might just cost you around 18 to 20,000 Australian dollars per year, right? So when we look at the conversion rate, 15,000 Australian dollars would be somewhere around 8 to 9 lakhs Indian rupee, which is, I would say, in most of the cases, it's doable, right? So you need to understand the finances, and also, the university where you're applying. Some of the universities, the top ones especially, may be a little expensive. England. So some of the universities are comparatively much cheaper. So you would have around 5-6 universities in Australia where the tuition fees would be less than 20k Australian dollars, right? So you would have good amount of time to understand what should be your financial planning, or are you actually looking to apply for some scholarship. In few of the universities, you'll have to do a separate application for scholarship. But for most of the universities which actually give scholarship to international students, you can apply along with the same application form, right? So with this, we come to the application part of it. In the application, like most overseas application, you would have to supplement your application with your academic records, your scores that you get, your extracurriculars. It would also have letters of recommendations and statement of purpose or essays. Many a time of your application. So once you do your application and your application are accepted by the university, you apply to the Australian visa. The Australian visa process is slightly trickier, but you have a lot of advantages because it's completely online now. So you can actually go through I'll just take you through a bit of that, and then you can get your visa done, which is basically done in the month of December or January, or maybe January and February. 3 to 4 weeks of time, amount of time to prepare for your departure, getting your health, vaccinations and all done. There are quite a few rules and regulations, which I will talk about a little later. So the entire 5 steps can be done within this year. So we are in April 16th today. So April, May, June, July, by December, you should be able to cover the entire 5 steps. So let's see in a little detail, how do we do that? So why Australia? Yes, universities, this universities come under the top 100 universities in the world. Quality of education. Mona Lisa, is there an echo in my voice?
No. There's no echo. You get cut in between.
Oh, all right. I just got I'm sorry. I'll just repeat that. Okay. So the quality of education, it's very research based. A lot of universities would have a lot of research fund in them. So definitely, the quality of education is good. You have work while study opportunity. Most of the universities will have an international support service. Safety wise, Australia tends to be very politically very stable. Crime rates are much lower than other countries. And again, it is a multicultural society. So you would not be surprised, when you are in your university, you would just find a food truck selling to animal, right? Employability opportunities are there. This is, you have to take it with a little pinch of salt, because employability or the employment opportunities is dependent on the type of study you're going for, and also how you have been doing in your academics, right? Australia is very strict with getting backs or all of that. So if you have back papers and if you haven't cleared them, getting an employment might be a challenge. So you have ample opportunities, but you will have to be equipped enough to pick them up for yourself, right? We have the Go8 universities in Australia, which are the major employers, and they are actually the most revenue generating universities, who actually gives a lot of manpower or workforce to various industries, actually making it contribute to almost $19 billion of economy each year. So if you're looking at getting into these top universities, again, as I told you, they have a lot of research options, very good programs in management, in sciences, in engineering. So you can look into all of the programs like psychology and all. There are quite a good, quite a variety of programs available. So when you look at the institution and the courses in Australia, you would have almost 22,000 courses that will be available. And a lot of institutes are there. When we talk or look at the huge public universities in Australia, there are around 43 of them. Most of the universities, the huge universities in Australia, are public universities. Even the private universities are less. We have 4 private universities in Australia and 2 international universities that are there in Australia. Any guesses which are these 2 international university that would be there? You can put it in the chat. One is a university from UK and the other is a university from US. Do anyone in my audience know which is these international universities that are in Australia? One of them is a top university in the US. Yeah, look for it. And we also have a vocational training institute. All right. So I'll give the names a little later, but please search for the 2 international universities in Australia, which are very good university. One is a UK university, the other is a US university. So when do we start actually looking for applying or doing our research? As I always say, it's never too early to start. 12 to 18 months, but we can do an Australian application even less than that. So I'll look into the timeline. I'll tell you the timeline and exactly tell you in which months you should be doing what. All right. So the spring intake is the intake which is the primary intake for Australia and both New Zealand. For this, the classes would begin in the month of February or March. So mind you, so you are now appearing for your 12th class. So you will be preparing for your, remember, researching your options and all. And once you're done with your visa, you'll be going to Australia or New Zealand in the month of February 23 or March 23. All right, most cases it is February end. All right. Summer intakes are relatively smaller intakes. So this would be for those people who are looking for the masters, or in case you have applied for the spring intake and you know did not get it through, right? So for those people, you might actually look at the summer intake also. But for the undergrad students, right? So you should prefer the spring intake. Some of the small universities would have multiple intake systems, so they would pick up students or take students even in the month of September and November. Again, these are very fewer entries, smaller intakes. So for you, if you're really planning it well, plan it for the spring intake, right? So what is the timeline for the primary intake for Australia? Is you can start immediately with your step number 1, that is researching your option. So since you'll be researching your option, if you're a college student and looking for something in masters in sciences or looking for MBA program, there would be universities who would look at your GRE or GMAT score, right? So if the university is looking forward for such a thing, it is an ideal time for you to start preparing for those entrance exams. Again, you might have to, it's not might, you will have to take an English test. So either IELTS or TOEFL, you can take it in the month of August or September, but for taking the test and scoring well, you should prepare for them. So you can start preparing after your boards, maybe. All right. And you start researching your options. So this would be there. The ideal time would be in August. So if you're looking forward to appearing for these exams, August would be the time where you would like to do it. A little careful for the students who would be looking for appearing, applying to medical, and you need to appear for the test called ISET, which is International Students Admission Test. Right, you might have to prepare for this exam well ahead of time, register for the exam well ahead of time, and take the test, on time, right? So the registration dates are much earlier than the examination date. So be a little mindful about that. So once you have done with your tests and all, you start applying to the universities in the month of October, November. I actually start, for my students, I actually tell them to start in the month of September itself, of buffer. Universities in Australia will start giving you your acceptance letter, or you will be getting your interview calls in the month of November, mostly October and November beginning. Some of the universities, depending on the deadline, may also give your acceptance in the month of December, right? So December and January are the months where you would be looking for, if you're, if you need some education loan, you will already be getting your acceptance. And in India, all the banks, they do give, most of the banks would be giving you international student education loan. Or maybe, education loan to be looking for the acceptance letter. So once you get your acceptance letter, you can approach the bank and get your loan sanctioned, right? So you need to tell your finances, you need to declare your finances for the visa purpose. So therefore, December and January, you'll have to do a little bit of running around, to get your loan and all placed. In IDC, we do have also. So once your visa is done, once your visa is stamped, it is time for you to book your tickets and get ready for your departure, which is basically, you can go to the country. Ideally, we say that at least 2 weeks before. Some students just 1 week before, some goes 3 weeks, but long ahead of your start date, because you will be spending a lot of money otherwise, right? So January, February is the ideal time to get your tickets and all book and depart for the country. Australian visa takes around 3 to 4 weeks to come. It is an online process, so you will have to apply for it online. There are a few things that you need to know for the Australian visa. you need the confirmation of enrollment. Also, mind you, there are a lot of, but for an international student, it is very, very important that your course for which you're going is registered under the Commonwealth Register of Institute for Overseas Student, right? So you need to do a little checking on that. Apart from this, you would have to write an essay around 1,000 to 1,500 words, showing that you have ties to your home country and you do not have immigration intent. So that is called as a genuine temporary and essay kind of a thing which you need to write, and you need to furnish it along with your, for your visa. Again, for Australian visa, again, IELTS band of 6 in each module would be required. It's not just IELTS. If you're taking a TOEFL also, then they will be converting it into, that kind of a band. So these tests are all interconvertible. So you can choose one of the 3 tests, PTE, IELTS, or TOEFL. IELTS seems to be a little easier for everyone. So if you are comfortable with taking the IELTS, you can take it in each section. All right. And then you'll have to publish your financial details. So your bank statements and all of that, showing that you have enough money to support yourself during your study in Australia. There are health requirements. So there would be, insurance. There are overseas student health cover that you might have to register for this. So many times the university would help you. The university you're going or enrolling would be helping you with the health requirement. And the next is your character requirement. For your character requirement for the US visa, there is a questionnaire which you'll have to, fill it up. So you need to do this questionnaire. In some cases, even a police verification certificate is asked. So that's why, since there are a lot of things, Australian visa tends to be a little complicated. But if your paperworks are all in place and you have actually researched through well, it should not be a problem, right? Again, Australia is, very welcoming for students to work while they are studying. So you can, work for 40 hours a week, okay, during your off times, and some, and even on campus, there are 20 hours of work. If you are looking for working after you have done your studies, make sure that you enroll for a program which is at least 2 years of duration. So you would be eligible to apply for the post-study work in Australia after you have completed your 2 years of study in Australia, right? So I think this much is clear. We have good universities there. You can look for around 40 universities, out of which you might just bring down according to the 7 universities where you will be applying. Follow the timeline and sequence that we just discussed, and start applying to the universities. If you need our help here, we do a lot of SOP review. We do a lot of application help as well. So we can go ahead with it, and by December of this year, you get your acceptance and start off with the visa process, and then you fly to Australia in the month of February. All right. For New Zealand, again, it is just very close to Australia. You can see New Zealand, they are the islands here. Some of the very good universities are there, not too many, I would say, but there are 5 universities, 5 to 6 universities, which are very welcoming for international students. You have University of Auckland, which ranks 81 in the world. So yeah, if you're looking forward to go to Auckland, you can really go. So recently, one of my students has moved there, and she is in one of the top pharmaceutical industry there. All right. For student visa policy, if you're looking at, as we saw, Australia, New Zealand visa process is quite liberal in that manner. Like Australia, even New Zealand has 2 intakes, the spring intake and the summer intake. Even here, the spring intake is the primary intake. Some universities would have multiple intakes in September and November as well. Okay. So the major type of education institute, like in Australia, we have the public universities, we have political, polytechnics or, technological establishments, which are basically vocational kind of courses. And also when you're looking at international students and working there in New Zealand, you get 20 hours of work per week during your semester and 30 to 40 hours of work during school breaks. Australia, New Zealand do have something like a minimum wage. So if you're working per hour, the minimum wage is 20 New Zealand dollar. So if you're looking at, working for 10 hours, around 200 New Zealand dollar per week, which is, a decent amount for you to, spend for your living expenses and your food and all, right? So when you're financial planning, for the first 3 months, I would say 3 months, make sure you do the planning in a way that, even your food and cost of living is covered. So once you start earning, whether in semester, the cost of living would be something that you would be taking care of by yourself. All right. But for the at least for the first 6 months, I would say you should have that planning ready. For Australia, it will be around $2,000 to $2,500 Australian dollars per month, which is approximately 1 lakh rupees. All right, per month. New Zealand, it will be around 60,000 to 80,000 Indian rupee and all of that, which will slowly be taken care of. But yes, for students who are going for the undergrad, it's advisable that when you're doing your financial planning, make sure that you at least have some surplus amount which will suffice for your cost of living also at least to 6 to 7 months. All right. So the type of work in New Zealand, as we said, they have the visa process is also liberal. Even work, you would have a lot of different kind of work which suits your studies along with your earning. So there are few casual works that would be there, which would be in shift. If you want to choose that, you can. I know of one of the students who used to work for 3 hours in a night shift. So, he used to work from 11 p.m., 3 hours till around 1:30. So, you can have those shift timings. Some seasonal jobs that are available, especially in the vineyard and all. So you can look for this kind of agreement where you work for one season, or a month or a two, during the year. So even that is there. Part-time and full-time work opportunities are available for students who are doing their PhD. You can get a work permit along with your study visa as well. There are some piece of work which are called as piecework, which is basically a contract kind of a thing. So you are paid for a particular piece of work. So if you are into journalism, or you like to do content writing and just to do this piece, this is the payment that you would be receiving. So you can finish it according to your own wish. So you might just finish the piece of writing in one day, you get it, if the quality of work is good, or you might spend just a week time to get that work done, and you get paid accordingly. So this way, so because of all of this, New Zealand tends to be very favorable. The weather conditions are good. It's a beautiful place. Though there are not too many universities, like to think about whether New Zealand is a place for you. And as Shilpa ma'am told in the beginning of the session, just because there are admissions available, it should not be the only criteria for you to do an application for those countries. You'll really have to get the vibe of it. You'll have to work towards it. Sometimes knowing the country well, or if you have a known person, gives you an added benefit. So yes, you will have to be comfortable. And foremost, you'll have to be comfortable with the fee structure of the university, and you'll always have to have a plan as to what you want to do after you are done with your study. So this helps you even writing your GTE. All right. Many a time, especially during the pandemic, a lot of universities have actually given a transfer or a deferral for most of the students. So if you have gotten admit for this February and you want to for another year, those kind of deferrals are possible. If you had gotten in the spring intake and you want to, kind of defer it to the summer intake, even some universities will offer you that kind of liberty as well. Some of the universities are also taking in transfer students. Transfer in the sense you would, you might have already joined a college here and you have started continuing with your classes. Then you will be applying to these universities in February as a transfer student, right? So transfers are available. In Australia for the year 2021 and 2020, a lot of Australian students, but since Australia closed their borders, they had all of their classes through the online mode with virtual labs and virtual learning. And now, last year, December, the visas opened up and a lot of Indian students have actually gone to Australia to continue with their, studies. So this is also possible. So hybrid classes or hybrid mode is there in almost all of the universities in Australia, and they have very good virtual labs. So, if you are looking into it and you actually feel that, you deserve to study abroad, you yourself, all right, then, you might just look at these two countries. And when it is the political scenario, it's wonderful. My brother, he is also in Australia, and yeah, that during the COVID time, he got around 1,200 Australian dollars as a compensation for not being able to go and work, right? So that's how you would say the government is quite pro, and even international students are highly welcome, right? So we have to create more awareness. So if you are actually looking forward to benefit from, studying abroad, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to IDC directly. All right. We do a lot of counseling, personalized counseling for students and prepare them for the journey ahead, not just, doing the course mapping and bring them into the university. We make sure that, the student whom we are advising not only survives, but he or she will be taking a piece of India with him, will be taking a piece of his culture with him or her. So, you really need to work it out in such a way that you do it the right way in the first time itself. All right. We would like to clear if you have any misconception or if there is anything that you are, worried about, if there is any myth that you have heard, so you can reach out to us. We do have an orientation session happening, which is a free of cost orientation for overseas. You have done that research and you have those academics in place, you know what program or course you're really looking to go forward with, and you need help to, apply to universities, please do reach out to us. There would be a form. Samarth, I would request you to put it in the, chat or, either YouTube chat, so that you can, fill up the form, make sure that you give all your details, and someone from IDC will reach out to you. And if you feel that, and you are actually looking forward to it, and you do to patients, we will take you the program. All right. So how we do that? We would be looking at your profile first, and then see whether your profile is such that you would be, you would be accepted by the university that you're looking forward to, or, the program that you're looking forward to. As I told you in the beginning of the webinar, sometimes some skill-based to build your profile, maybe an extra course, maybe building a portfolio for yourself, or maybe you have done something brilliant in terms of academics, but you're lacking in one or two things which you missed out because you were very busy in your 11th and 12th to prepare for the JE or the NEET exam, maybe, or you were doing something else, so you missed out on that. And maybe there is something that you would still like to do while accordingly. So I remember the student of mine who was wonderful in keyboard, but during her 12th class, she couldn't do a lot, right? But we did encourage her to have a YouTube channel, and she plays wonderfully well. We did something very unique with the way she played her tunes, and that profile was brilliant, right? So we can help you build your profile both academically and extracurricular wise, also help you make the which country would be good for you and which university should be ideal for you. We do a nice mix of university shortlisting based on your program. We have ambitious, we have moderate, we do keep one or two safe universities as well, because you should get admits, good admits, right? And safe universities many a times we keep because of the cost factor. Sometimes finances really becomes a problem. Safe university could not could be a safe university in terms of your finance, all right? And also for some of the universities, they would ask for a personal interview. We do help students prepare for personal interviews as well. All right. IDC has additional services in terms of helping you with loan assistance. If you're looking for, some visa or travel related guidance, even IDC provides that as well. All right. So there is a question I see from Madhu Bharadwaj. Thank you. Most of the universities, like in US, they would be looking for a statement of purpose. Sometimes they also call it as a letter of intent in some of the universities. So you will actually have to give them a reasoning as to why are you looking for that program, and why do you want to study in that university. So your intention of studies have to come out. All right. So that would be there. LORs, yes, again, you might have to take this, and you will, there might be one LOR requirement from from your employer. If you are a student, definitely your academic LOR would be required. The rationale behind the LOR is, since you will be going to this university as a student, so somebody have to give you a reference as to how you behave as a student. All right. So we do a lot of LOR review and all. We do speak to your professors or your counselor as to what kind of LOR would be something which justify, gives a holistic view to your entire personality, right? So because when you are doing your application, you're basically writing down few things, you're filling up your details. This does not show your personality. LOS and SOP actually gives you the means and ways to show it to the university. All right. So yeah, it is named differently, but most of the universities would ask. For the students who are looking for a master's program, the statement of purpose, you would actually have to give your short-term and long-term goals, and state very clearly what are the aspects in that university that you're really looking forward to explore. All right. For the undergrad, it might be like a personal statement also, except for a few courses which are more towards engineering or medical or dentistry or something like that. Students who are looking to do their undergrad study from Australia might also write their personal essay. All right. So those are available with that as well. All right. So Madhu, I think we have answered your question. Do we have any other questions? You can take, if you have a QR scanning system in your phone, you can scan this code. This will take you to the Google form. Am I right, Samarth?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So I told you about the overseas orientation we do. It's a completely free of session, the free of cost session that we talk to you one-on-one and understand your, position, and then advise you accordingly as to what you should be doing. Okay. Many a times we actually advise students that maybe this is not the right time for you to go, abroad. And also we have seen a lot of students where we actually feel that overseas education would be something which would be remarkable for them, which would be a beautiful change that would come to their life if they go for an overseas education. Some of our students, now they have such brilliant extracurricular activities. They might not find a right fit university for them in India at this point in time. All right. So for those students, if you actually feel, oh my, I am so good with this, which is the university where I can actually take it on. So if you are in that position, it's not too late for you. Do scan the QR code here, fill in the form, and Samarth or someone from IDC will reach out to you and fix this session with us. All right. So we'll have this weekly career class every Saturday, I suppose. Do we do it? Are we doing it every Saturday for?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. You might not be, available today, but this would be there in our YouTube channel. So go ahead and subscribe for it, and you can, view this even later also. Okay. So that's all from my side. So open to questions. Are there any more questions in the YouTube?
So there are no questions as of now. There are no questions today. I think we can wait for a minute or two and see if any of our viewers would like to ask any questions.
Yeah. So Mona Lisa, you said you have a query for Australia. Any specific requirement?
Ma'am, the student is just, into the BBA course, first year. So he will be.
All right. So why Australia for him?
No, he is not very much defined कि I have to go to Australia only. He is looking for Australia and UK. I said कि Australia में थोड़ा पैसे कम लग सकते हैं, कम लगेंगे because they have the old parent also to look after and a sister also there after him. So that's why I suggested him we can look after Australia. It is not yet decided that we'll be going only for Australia or for UK.
Yeah, so some of the courses in Australia is actually doable.
Yes.
Financially, it is doable for many, actually.
Yes. So for that only I suggested him कि पढ़ाई भी हो जाएगी MBA की और you can go to abroad also, and if you want to settle, you can settle there also. The environment is also good enough there.
Good.
I asked a question. Which were the two international universities in Australia?
Deakin University.
Dickens is it's an Australian public university.
Okay.
One is from UK, one is from US.
Is it Cambridge?
Not Cambridge.
No. One is my son's university.
Yeah, Carnegie Mellon University.
Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have it in Australia as well. Then other is Nottingham.
Okay.
Not Nottingham, sorry.
Newcastle. Newcastle.
So these are international universities. We have a tie-up of SP Jain also with one of the universities.
Yes.
So SP Jain has this.
In Sydney, they have 1 year. Yeah.
You can do it in Sydney University for 1 year.
SP is only with Sydney University, no?
Yeah. So they have in Dubai also. So
Dubai, Sydney, and Mumbai.
Yeah. Singapore, they have a complete establishment.
Yeah, that is totally different. Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
So there are some of the good universities are there.
Right.
All right, ma'am. So we do not have any queries today, and a lot thanks to you, Ms. Parmita, and thank you, Ms. Shilpa, also for joining in. And it was a great discussion. It was very informative, and I hope that we'll be having more such sessions for students. Also, a reminder to all of our students, viewers, that we have pasted the orientation details, the orientation form details in the chat link, and you can always fill that form up and avail a free orientation session with our counselors.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll end the session now. Thank you all of you for joining, and hope you have a great evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Samar.
Thank you so much, Samar. Thank you for coordinating.
Thank you.